let's have everybody introduce themselves really quick while so we'll go ahead and start with George.
Good morning. I'm George Buell from Civic Solutions.
Megan.
Hi, Megan Jones with Rincon Consultants.
Great. Kamiko.
I am Kamiko Lizardi with Rincon Consultants.
Okay. Michael.
Gibbons with Mintier Harnish.
Thanks. Matt.
You caught me. Matt Tacker, WRT.
Thanks. Jenna.
Good morning. I'm Jenna Chillingarian with Precision Civil Engineering in Fresno.
Thanks. Kelsey.
Good morning, Kelsey George, Precision Civil Engineering.
Thanks. Kate.
Hey everybody, it's Kate O'Byrne with Economic and Planning Systems.
Great. Thanks. Poonam.
Good morning, Poonam Nagkar from WRT.
Thanks. Troy.
Hi, thanks. Troy Reinhalter from Raymond Associates.
Hannah.
Hi, Hannah Simonson from Page and Turnbull.
Thank you. Shin.
Shin Tu from Precision Civil Engineering.
Mark.
Good morning, Mark Doty with TJK Young Transportation Consultants.
Thanks. Erica.
Dudak Consulting.
Thanks, Erica. Robert.
Robert Kane with Hauser Levine Associates.
Thanks. Mark. Oh, we got Mark, I think. And Shamila.
Hi, I'm Shamila Jensen with WRT.
And Robert.
I think that's a double account for his microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. My microphone's not working on my laptop.
We heard you. This was good. All right. Is there anybody I missed? Great. Alex, you want to take it from here?
Sure. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this morning. My name is Alex Othon. I'm an associate planner with the city and also the RFP coordinator. And joining us, as you already know, is Anastasia Wyatt, our director. So I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to get started. Okay. So thanks for joining us at the pre-bid meeting for the general plan update for the city of Pacific Grove. We're obviously looking to have our 1994 general plan updated. And so this is just a brief rundown of the scope of work. And what I will say ahead of time is all of this is obviously pulled straight out from the RFP document. So if you have any questions or you want to look in more detail, obviously it's all in there, and we will have a brief Q&A session afterwards. So what we are looking for are obviously updates to the land use, safety, and transportation elements. And also we would like the elements to incorporate the state directives of hazard mitigation, climate action planning, and environmental justice. We're also looking to have the zoning code updated at the same time, along with objective design and development standards, as well as having a CEQA review done of the update. And I apologize for this slide. The text is very small. This is the required deliverables. And of course, I'm trying to get it positioned. And you can find these, like I said, in the document. It's a little easier to read there, but I'll just run through them briefly. We're looking for maps and graphics for all the community and public hearings, an existing conditions report, a SWOT analysis, obviously administrative drafts and finals drafts, EIRs, or the EIR, let's see, a statement of overriding considerations, a mitigation and monitoring program, a zoning code and map update, like I mentioned previously, and then a hard copy and digital format of everything, as well as GIS shape files. We're also wanting to have some community outreach done through this process. One second, I gotta move the cameras around. I believe the RFP has 10 planning commission meetings scheduled and 5 city council meetings included in it. And then we would also like the budget and proposal to include how many meetings would be anticipated for public engagement and staffed by the consultant engagement team. And for submission requirements, we need it provided your RFPs or your responses, excuse me, provided electronically and with 8 physical copies. And we need them by December 2nd at 5 p.m. And the required content is a cover letter, scope of work, timeline, deliverables, identification of your team, related examples and references, and then a fee proposal. And then just briefly to go over some of the next steps. There's a lot more steps after just December 2nd, obviously, but I thought I would just include the pertinent ones here. So Monday, we will publish the Q&A session by 5 p.m. Looks like that got left out of the PowerPoint. And Friday of next week, we will have responses to the written questions posted. We will have, by Friday, we would like the written questions submitted, and then Friday, November 4th, we will have our responses posted to the website and sent out. And then, like I said earlier, the deadline for submitting a proposal is December 2nd at 5 p.m. So that's about it for my presentation. If you guys have any questions, I think Anastasia and I would be happy to answer them. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself, or we could just use the raise hand function, however you'd like to do it.
Kimiko?
Can you help us understand where you are in the housing element update process and how that's going?
Sure, yes. We are, I think, on time. We are, right now, we just finished up a lot of our engagement. We're wrapping it all up. We're working with Baird and Driscoll on that. We just hired Harris and Associates for the CEQA, for the housing element. One of our last engagements that we just did is the Balancing Act tool, which is pretty cool, which I think will help us inform a little bit on the general plan. And of course, I was just discussing with our consultant yesterday about what's going to happen in the future, and really because we did get a lot of units for Pacific Grove, where we received 1,125 units to plan for, which is quite a bit for our little tiny community. But I think, with the Balancing Act tool helped us really visualize where we can create more density and how we can fit it into the fabric of our community. And but using that tool and thinking about this focused general plan update, and where will we include future development, because if we get another 1,000 units every round of housing element, we want to think about that in this general plan update process. So we're doing really well with our update. I feel like we are going to submit on time. I also feel like we're taking the right steps that we would get to a certified housing element. We've done lots of engagement, and I'm pretty comfortable with where we are. Thank you. I see George has a question.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. With regards to the public engagement process that you've undertaken with the housing element update process, what has that looked like? And has it been a combination of in-person meetings, remote meetings, or how has that worked for you?
Yeah, it was really interesting, with COVID, of course. And we did a combination of about 4 in-person meetings and 2 online meetings. And we also, because they were working meetings, we didn't really do them hybrid, any of them, because the Balancing Act tool was an online experience. Like, you really needed to play with it online. And then the rest of the meetings were traditional in-person meetings where, you've got maps in front of you, you've got something to work through in the meeting. So that was great. And then we also did a lot of, I did door-to-door knocking because our planning commission asked me to. And, I just thought, why not? And I really wanted to target a lower income population in our community by doing that. And then we did, any big events that we had, we were out there. So obviously, we're here, we can do a lot of that. So however you want to propose the engagement for the general plan, where staff is willing to work with you on how, what is in person, what's online, and we can negotiate that a little bit.
Okay. And then can you share as to what level of staff participation or involvement, what that will look like? Will it just be primarily a project manager, or would you like your staff to be involved with the consultant team as well?
Yeah, I think I definitely would like the staff to be involved. Alex and I will be heavily involved in this process. So yeah, we'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Robert. I'm just picking. Is Robert's mic working?
I have too many systems logged in. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
So because the general plan is such a highly political process, and obviously you're going to put a website together, what is the city's stance on hosting the website? Will it be part of the city's website? Could you host a link to an externally hosted website? What are the thoughts on that? Just thinking about like engagement platforms and how to incorporate that into the bigger, Pacific Grove website.
Yeah, I think we're open to either. I've done it in the past where we've had our own web page, like our housing element. We just have our own web page. We did discuss having a regional type of housing page, working with other communities, but we couldn't get the regional effort working. But yeah, that's something, let us know what your thoughts are in your proposal, and we're willing to do either.
Thank you.
Thanks. Troy?
Excuse me. Hi, thanks. A couple of questions. Is there any sense of the city's budget range or ability for what they're looking for on that end? Is there any interest in the city having this process include like a full climate action plan component, or is it more of a kind of statutory update to the climate change piece? And then I guess finally, is there any chance we could do electronic submission only and not do physical copies? Just a question.
I think we will have we did request in our RFP to have the copies, so I think we're going to stick to that, because I know we'll have people ask to review paper copies. That's just how we are still with who we know will be on the team to review. Budget range, I don't have that. We're hoping from your proposals to know exactly what we need to set aside in our budget for the update. And I can tell you our planning commission, city council are all very on board and excited for this update. And I don't think we'll have, I don't anticipate not having it funded fully. Right now we have 100,000 set aside just to get this process started and get the contract written, and then I'll go back to council for a full funding. So don't stress about that at all. It will happen. And the full climate action plan, I do not anticipate that we would just like a statutory update within the elements that we've requested to be updated as much as people want it. But I will say that I did speak with AMBAG, and they have done some climate modeling. They did get a grant. That is not public information at this time, but you can, whoever is the selected will be able to have that document and that data. And then I also spoke with our public works department and our environmental coordinator and about involving public works in that climate part of the update. And we have a little plan there, and we do have some data. So, and AMBAG is willing to continue to work with us to have that data readily available. So those are good things. We're not starting from scratch there. Okay, Poonam.
Hi, I was wondering, for your housing element update process, did you have a community working group or a technical advisory committee that was involved in your working sessions? And if yes, do you expect that group to continue, being involved in the general plan update process in that same form?
That's a great question. Yes, we do. We have a great technical advisory committee. We're a pretty small community, so I expect that they would be involved continuing forward and maybe adding a few other people to the group. It's a great group. We have housing developers. We have a couple of city council, a couple of planning commission members. It's a very diverse group, architects, engineers on the committee, passive house people. So it's pretty good group. So yes, they will continue on, and I'm sure. I haven't asked him yet, but I know that they'll move on forward. Okay, Michael.
Yes, thank you. My question is regarding the zoning ordinance amendments. Is this envisioning more of a technical amendment for consistency with changes from the housing element in GP, or is staff considering a more comprehensive update?
I think that is, take a look at it and see what you think. With the objective design and development standards and trying to get there, that is definitely something where how will that affect our zoning ordinance and how much? And I think that there's probably some good cleanup that needs to happen. And we'll see too with the housing element. We'll involve you as soon as we get to the point where we know we need to rezone and what that will look like. So that's thankfully, I think we'll have a draft housing element no later than January. So you'll be able to take that and come in with your recommendations. Any other questions? Hannah.
Hi, yeah, we know that the preservation chapter element isn't part of this scope, but just knowing Pacific Grove and how important historic resources are, we're kind of wondering, what you're expecting from the community in terms of engagement on that issue, and how the objective design standards might relate to historic resources, if that's something you're already thinking about or thinking that's a separate process.
I'm going to let Alex take this one because he's the Historic Resources Committee chair or liaison.
Yes, that is a great question. I have yet to get a feel from the Historic Resources Committee on whether or not they want to pursue updating the HPO as a separate matter. I believe that their upcoming meeting next week, they will do a little bit more discussion on that side of things. So I don't know that I have a concrete answer for you right this second, but probably by the time we are posting responses to these questions, I will have a more fleshed out and detailed answer for you.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, Poonam.
I was wondering if you're able to share some of the key issues that came up during your housing element update, from the community, especially as you're dealing with such a high RHNA allocation, and because I'm thinking that some of those issues will need to be addressed with the general plan update process as well.
The biggest issue we have is nobody wants change and nobody wants to see 1,125 units come through. Not nobody, but I will say there is resistance for sure. But I will say the Housing Balancing Act tool, I had read about it and it's being used in Northern California, and we utilized it. Alex ran that engagement, and I feel that it really did help people to visualize and not be so terrified of, oh my God, people just think it's going to be everywhere and a mess. And so that did help. So I think being smart and tactical in our engagement, and that is why we're kind of putting a lot of emphasis on that right now. What I plan to do based on our housing element, what we've learned from that is the first thing we'll do with whoever's selected is create an engagement plan and bring that to our planning commission and then our city council for approval. That will be the number one thing. And I think that will help us get the buy-in and be able to do smart, good planning together. So politically, I think that will go a long way with moving this forward. So that I would say was our largest obstacle in the housing element.
Can I just ask a follow-up question, and then Michael, you can go. So in terms of the engagement is, for your community, you mentioned that there were working sessions during the housing element update, and I'm assuming those were in person?
Partly for like in person and then to online. And one of those, I will say that we did a project. I tried to push a project home key project through, didn't work out, but it got to the community and they started thinking about it. So that's a good thing. And I think that will help us in future planning efforts.
Because I was trying to gauge, the comfort level with in the community with using technology or interactive web-based tools for engagement.
Yeah, I think Alex, do you want to talk about your engagement? Because you really led that effort.
Yeah, I think when we use the balancing act tool, I would say most people, the majority of people, I don't think had any issue with dealing with the technological side of these tools. Given the population of Pacific Grove, there are some members who I think find it a little more difficult, but I believe overall there's no real barriers to having web-based tools involved in the process.
I agree. Thanks. Okay, Robert.
Sorry about that. Yeah, just going back on the safety element. So safety element update is part of this general plan update. Are you not updating your safety element concurrent with your housing element?
No, our housing element, we're trying to stay on the process. So it's a matter of all of this will have to come after.
Yeah, so any of the safety related issues that coming out of the policies in the housing element will be amended to the existing safety element with the pending like a addendum or to the safety element update. I guess I'm just trying to understand how that's working, right? Because you do have to analyze certain aspects to incorporate policies in the safety element when you're updating your housing element. Just trying to kind of figure out how the city envisions that.
Okay. Alex, do you have anything to add to this response?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Yeah, I think as we move forward with our housing element, and hopefully we'll, have one of you on board, we can have a little bit of time to, if you have recommendations on that we can work through it for sure. Thank you. Okay, Michael.
Thank you. This question regarding land uses and the scope of changes anticipated so there's the housing element, of course. In the land use element, is the city anticipating further land use changes beyond consistency with the housing element? And with that, is an alternatives process or build out envisioned as part of the scope of this project?
Alex, do you want to take a stab at that?
I will say that, yeah, I think the housing element has, obviously quite a bit of land use changes that are being discussed. Outside of that, that's a hard question to answer in this community, unfortunately. I think that there are members of the Planning Commission and the public as a whole who I think are interested in pursuing more land use changes potentially beyond what is just involved in the housing element, but I don't have a great grasp on how extensive those changes are, or what level of community buy-in we would get for any changes beyond what the housing element is proposing.
And I will say we have a lot of land use categories that are subjected to voter initiatives. So that may never happen. We could propose it. We could try to do a new voter initiative. We are looking at in the housing element update parcels that would require a new voter initiative to be able to build. And what we're considering is identifying the specific properties and then going through a voter initiative for those properties, but not as a whole, because we're concerned we won't get the buy-in if we do it blanket versus here's what we're going to do. Are you okay with this as a community? So that's kind of how we're going to tackle any changes. Good question. Okay, Troy.
Thanks. Any sense on the overall timing you're looking for? 2 years, 3 years? Is there any sense of that?
I think I would say everybody's so excited in our community about this update. We're excited. Our planning commission can't stand it. So city council, I mean, they are ready to go. So I would say if we could do, I think 2 to 3 years is a good time frame to look at. If you think it might be longer, go ahead and think about it in your proposal and why, and let us know what your thoughts are. We do want to hear from you on on your approach, but obviously everyone would love it done tomorrow, but that's not going to happen. It is long overdue. Robert.
Does the city have a certified local coastal program?
Yes, we do.
So you have permit authority, right? So then will this won't have to go to the Coastal Commission only as a courtesy, right? So in other words, when you're reviewing the land uses, are you going to have to engage with the Coastal Commission on the land use changes?
Alex, you want to take a
Yes, the city does have a certified local coastal plan. I think it would just be, a courtesy to the Coastal Commission, having them involved in the process.
Thank you.
PG is an interesting community. We have water issues that I hope you're all aware of that do constrict our development at this time, but we're just moving forward like we have no water problems. Hopefully, I think we're getting close to a solution with a desal plant. It's going to the Coastal Commission soon, and we'll see what happens there. But it seems like everybody's working on that. Hopefully we'll get there, but we've got a lot of little constraints on our tiny community. Any other questions? Okay, any last thoughts, Alex?
Thanks everybody for coming. I think Anastasia and I both really appreciate everyone taking the time to be here, and thanks for all your great questions. And like I mentioned earlier, I think we will have responses up in the next working day. And then if you just give us any other written questions you have by next week, we can respond to those as well. And that's all I have.
Great. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.